All right. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you all for being here as always. We are very much blessed and honored to have His Grace Ganga Prasad Prabhu who will be speaking to us from the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. And it's actually doubly beautiful in the sense that he gets to begin a new chapter of the Bhagavatam, the second chapter of the second canto. So thank you as always, Prabhuji. And if you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and you will take it over from here.
Please go ahead.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please scroll up a little. Little more. Little more. Okay, thank you. Om Gyandaksya Nanjana Salakaya Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimad Radhana Swami Iti Namine Krishna Prestale Srimati Bhakti Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati De Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Isanyadi Paschatya Desatarine Sri Chaitanya Nanovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansya Shri Guru Sapram Sahagana Amvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Nagorangi Radhe Vrinda Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Manchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanamveyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nanda Yadvaita Gadadhara Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Devin Saraswati Vyasa Achudaya Muri
Is it from me? I'm not hearing Prabhu's voice again. Is it on my hand?
I think there was problem with his mic. He just got connected. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Prabhu, you're muted.
Am I on now?
Yes.
Hare Krishna?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I seem to have unstable internet, but let's see how slow it for. Okay. All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the session and appreciate the organizers for this opportunity to do service and beg everyone present to give their individual and collective blessings that we may do due diligence to this service to be able to purify ourselves and also benefit our audience. Thank you very much. We'll be reading from SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, second canto, chapter 2, text number 1. Actually, it's the beginning of this chapter, new chapter, and it's titled The Lord and the Heart. Lord and the Heart. So we recite this sloka together. Shri Sukha Uvacha Evam Pura Dharana Yatmayoni Nastam Sritim Pratyavarudya Tustat Tata Sasaje Damamoga Dristi Yata Yayat Prag Vyavasya Sabodhi Sri Sukha Uvacha Evam Purada Rananat Mayoni Nastram Smritim Pratyavarudyatustat Tata Sasaje Damamoga Tristi Yata Pyayat Pravyavasaya Yabudi Sri Sukha Uvacha Evam Purada Ranayat Mayoni Nastan Smritim Pratyagvarudyatustat Tata Sasaje Damamoga Dristi Yata Pyayat Prityagyavasaya Buddhi. Word for word transliteration. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Evam, just in the same way, Pura, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Dharanaya, by such a conception, Atma Yoni of Brahmaji, Nastam, lost, Smritim, remembrance, Pratyavarudya, by regaining consciousness, to start because of appeasing the Lord. Tata, thereafter, Sasaja, created, Idam, this material world, Amogadriste, one who has attained clear vision. Yata, as, Apyayat, created, Prag, as formerly, Vyavasaya, ascertain, Buddhi, intelligence. Translation and explanation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki, Jai Ho. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, formerly, to review the creation as it was before. The example cited here
Then what is it seems revered Prabhuji is having issues with his connection. So we'll see if he'll be able to come back.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we'll have to figure out something alternative.
Yeah, we have to be a lot of patience today because he's in
Yeah.
India and in an environment where he is.
Yeah,
A little bit with several equipment and all of that.
yeah. So
We pray he's able to come back.
certainly, yes. Oh.
So maybe you can play some bhajan interlude for like a few minutes. Dave, we're not hearing your sound. You are muted. You are muted.
Sulika Prabhu, I'm thinking we may go ahead and read the translation on purport while we hopefully wait for him.
I think that's a good idea. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll put the verse on the screen and then we'll read. And hopefully wait for Prabhuji's return. So reading from SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text number 1. And the translation goes, Sri Shukadev Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. Purport by Jagadguru Paramguru Srila Prabhupada. The example cited herein of Sri Brahmaji is one of forgetfulness. Brahmaji is the incarnation of one of the mundane attributes of the Lord. Being the incarnation of the passion mode of material nature, he is empowered by the Lord to generate the beautiful material manifestation. Yet, due to his being one of the numerous living beings, he is apt to forget the art of his creative energy. This forgetfulness of the living being, beginning from Brahma down to the lowest insignificant ant, is a tendency which can be counteracted by meditation on the Virat Rupa of the Lord. This chance is available in the human form of life, and if a human being follows the instruction of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM and begins to meditate upon the Virat Rupa, then a revival of his pure consciousness and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord can follow simultaneously. And as soon as this forgetfulness is removed, the Vyavasaya Buddhi, as mentioned here and in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41, follows at once. This ascertained knowledge of the living being leads to loving service to the Lord, which the living being requires. The kingdom of God is unlimited. Therefore, the number of the assisting hands of the Lord is also unlimited. The Bhagavad Gita 13:14 asserts that the Lord has his hands, legs, eyes, and mouths in every nook and corner of his creation. This means that the expansions of differentiated parts and parcels called jivas or living entities are assistant hands of the Lord, and all of them are meant for rendering a particular pattern of service to the Lord. The conditioned soul, even in the position of a Brahma, forgets this by the influence of the illusory material energy generated out of false egoism. One can counteract such false egoism by invoking God consciousness. Liberation means getting out of the slumber of forgetfulness and becoming situated in the real loving service of the Lord, as exemplified in the case of Brahma. The service of Brahma is the same of service and elaboration, distinguished from the so-called altruistic services full of mistakes and forgetfulness. Liberation is never in action, but service without human mistakes. Om Jana Timrandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshron Minitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guravina Mahashri Chaitanya Manabishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadama Yam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakratam Saragunantam Pintam Sagivam Sagitam Savadutam Parigama Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saha Gana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vintam Scha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktitirtha Swamini Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shri Tatmani Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shakarine Vanchakal Patarabhyascha Kripasindubhya Ivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadayaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tvije Namaha Nama Brahmanya Devya Go Brahmana Hitya Chakagadetaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It seems our original speaker is still not here. So I'll go ahead and speculate a little bit as much as my intelligence will allow me, and then we all will discuss the text. The text again reads, Sri Shukadev Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. Most of us, if not all of us on this platform, are aware that Srila Prabhupada was very much opposed to meditation as it is seen in our world of today. Here in this text, we're saying that Lord Brahma, who was forgetful of his capabilities, was able to regain his consciousness and able to understand what he's capable of by meditating on the Virat Rupa of the Supreme Lord. So we just started a new chapter. The previous chapter was the beginning, the first step in God realization. So this is still a continuation. So the Virat Rupa, as we understood from chapter 1, is the beginning step of God realization, that one begins to see God in his creation in the cosmos. So we see the vegetation and we understand that is the bodily hair of the Supreme Lord. When we see the rocks, is he back? Not yet. When we see the rocks, we understand that those are the nails of the Supreme Lord. Now, when we see the sun and the moon, we understand those are the eyes of the Supreme Lord. So in this way, one gives awe and reverence to the creation and the creatures of the Supreme Lord. So Lord Brahma, by meditating on this Virat Rupa form of the Lord, was eventually able to regain his consciousness. And by that regaining of consciousness, then he was able to create. From the description Srila Prabhupada gave in this paper, we can understand that this particular Brahma, Lord Brahma, is a Jiva Atma. Is a living entity, is a Jiva Atma like you and me, because sometimes none of the Jiva Atmas may be pious enough to assume the position of being the creator of, like being Lord Brahma. So Krishna himself assumes that position. And when Krishna himself assumes that position, then there wouldn't be this type of forgetfulness. So my understanding is that this particular Brahma we have is a Jiva Atma. And so Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that because Lord Brahma is a Jiva Atma, he is also liable to being forgetful. That he only has to meditate on the Supreme Lord, and by meditating on the Supreme Lord will remind him of his powers. Because Krishna himself has stated in the Bhagavad Gita that from him comes remembrance and forgetfulness. So when one wants to remember Krishna and meditates on the Supreme Lord. By such meditation and a desire to understand his purpose in life, Krishna may remember that particular individual about his position, what and how to get back to him. Like I was saying, Srila Prabhupada was very much opposed to meditation because in today's world, when people do claim that they are meditating, what are they meditating on? They're meditating on something vague, and one cannot meditate on vague. One has to meditate on an object. So we understand Lord Brahma was meditating on the Virat Rupa form of the Lord. For us as Vaishnavas, we meditate, but our meditation, as recommended by the scriptures and previous acharyas, is that we meditate on the two-handed form of Lord Krishna, called Govinda or Shamsundra or Vasudeva. Not even on the four-handed form of Krishna, which is Lakshmi Narayan. That is not a recommendation. One may meditate on the forms of Lakshmi Narayan, but the recommendation is to meditate on the two-handed form of Krishna, that is Radha Krishna. So we are blessed, we have the deities, and all our deities and all of our ISKCON centers are two-handed forms. So when one starts taking care of the deities, now somebody may ask, if God is God, and God is now in the form of the deities, then who are you to provide care or give care to God? Well, that is the unfathomable mercy of the Lord, that the Lord makes himself available and appears before us and gives us the opportunity to render service to him, because we are very gross materialists that cannot see, feel, hear anything spiritual. We can only see, feel, touch things that are grossly material. We cannot even see or feel some things that are subtle. So what to speak of some things that are spiritual? You know, the demigods, we sometimes and oftentimes consider them spiritual, but they're not actually spiritual in the true sense, because they are within this material world, but they have a subtle body. This subtle body is so fine that these gross eyes cannot behold. We cannot see them. But there is a finer form greater than that of the demigods or the angels, which is completely spiritual and is much, much finer than the subtle forms. Because we cannot see or feel or touch these forms, the Supreme Lord, being the Supreme Spirit, manifests himself in the form of Archa Vigraha, deity form, so that we can learn how to render service to the Lord here on this earth planet, so that when we are fortunate enough and we become competent to go back to the spiritual world, then nothing becomes strange or new to us, because we've practiced here and we know how to do it. Now somebody may ask, you have to die here before you go to wherever you have to go. So if you're dead, how are you going to remember what you did here? Yes, everything is going to manifest, because whatever we do is not just the body. The body alone cannot act. And that is why when the living force leaves the body, even though we may have all the different parts of the body intact together on the body, we still throw away the body. Either we bury the body, or we burn the body, or we give the body to some wild birds or animals to eat, depending on the different cultures where we belong to. But that Atma that was within the body, that helped engaged in the service of the Lord, still remembers. And so this is the training Srila Prabhupada has given us. Srila Prabhupada has given us this training that by constantly doing what he's giving us, waking up early in the morning, taking shower, attending Mangarati, seeing the deities, singing, glorifying the deities, and then chanting Nishimadev pranams, glorifying the Lord Nishimadev, and then glorifying Tulasi Devi, who is one of the dearest servants of the Lord, and then doing Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, daily greetings. We go before the Lord and we enjoy seeing the beautiful forms of the Lord that the Pujari has carefully and devotionally performed. We look at the beautiful forms of the Lord and we pray to the Lord for the Lord to help engage us in his or their service. When I say their, that is Radha Krishna, in the service of Radha Krishna. And then after that, we worship the spiritual master and also pray to the spiritual master to help guide us and guide us so that we can render some service to Sri Radha Krishna. And then after that, we discuss SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. After that, we do our various services. And then in the noon, we do Bhoga Arti. We sing and glorify Krishna. How Krishna is performing pastimes with his boyfriend, girlfriends in the beautiful groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And then after that, we do whatever other service we need to do. In the evening, we come back and then we glorify the Supreme Lord. We glorify the previous acharyas. We glorify the saintly higher beings. And then we discuss Bhagavad Gita, which is so dear that Krishna had to come down on this earth to re-speak this Bhagavad Gita to his dearest friend Arjuna. And by studying this Bhagavad Gita and trying to live the teachings therein, we may attain Krishna in this particular lifetime. So that is the process that Srila Prabhupada has carefully, thoughtfully given us. And if we do these things, Srila Prabhupada actually assures us, Srila Prabhupada assures us that whoever follows these four regulative principles and chant his 16 rounds of japa a day unfailingly, he gives us his word that he would take such an individual soul back home, back to Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada was making this statement when Krishna told Arjuna to announce to the entire world that whoever surrenders unto him, he promises that he will never perish, he is going to be saved. So Srila Prabhupada asked, why did Krishna ask Arjuna to say that, to make such a proclamation? And Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna said that because Krishna sometimes goes against his promises. But when his pure devotee makes a statement, then Krishna becomes bound up by such a statement that Krishna cannot disobey. And so Krishna doesn't want to disobey that. So he asks Arjuna to make such statement. So if Srila Prabhupada has made such a statement, then it is impossible, even though we all know that there is nothing impossible for Krishna to do, but it is now impossible for Krishna to not take one back on that to Godhead when that individual followed the four regulative principles unfailingly and chanted his 16 rounds minimum unfailingly. Srila Prabhupada says that person will be taken back to Godhead. So I would like to end here, and I will throw it back to the devotees. We all may discuss the text as it is today. It's quite unfortunate that we lost Ganga Prasad Prabhu. We would have really loved to hear him speak. He's a very sweet devotee. And we all can attest how he cherishes speaking Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam, just by accepting to speak today, because he is in a very inconvenient place, inconvenient time, circumstance, yet he still was determined to speak. And he actually was here speaking, and things beyond his control prevented him from continuing to speak. So this is our situation now. So Hare Krishna, the floor is open. Anybody may unmute and speak.
Hare Krishna.
I may put the verse back on the screen so devotees may refresh what the text says, right?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Masadi Prabhu. I just wanted to inform all of us that while you were speaking, Ganga Prasad called directly on the direct call from India to inform his inability to be able to rejoin due to the network failure.
Okay.
So, like you rightly said, it exhibits and shows that his determination to give the class was very unique.
Yeah.
Some of the other material nature, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
We are all working under the influence. So I just want to relay his.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. So this is the beginning of chapter 2 of Canto 2. So this is Canto 2, chapter 2, text 1. And this is Shikadev Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. And Shikadev Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. And Srila Prabhupada gave a very interesting purport as always. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I think my personal take home in this context is that this verse, Shikadi Goswami is reminding us that we are all fragmental part and parcel of the Lord. And our sole and primary challenges is that we've forgotten our identity in relation to the Lord. So therefore, we fall into different kinds of situation in the material world due to this forgetfulness. And this forgetfulness is not limited to only those of us who are living entities in this earthly body, but up to the position of Lord Brahma. And when this forgetfulness surface, when it manifests, then we forget our real duty. And there's only one solution to regaining back our consciousness, original consciousness, which is what is being mentioned in the text, and Prabhupada nicely expatiate on that in the purport, that the only solution is to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the result of such meditation is that we regain our consciousness of understanding of our original position. And when that happens, then we become properly situated. And when we are properly situated, then we engage in our original activity as the fragmental part and parcel of the Lord. And I think you've nicely explained, for those of us who are born in this age, who in the previous chapters of this very great book, SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Sutta Goswami has told us what our qualities are, and we all can attest to the fact that we are forgetful, we're dull, we are easily disturbed. We have all kinds of limiting qualities. But Prabhupada gave us a simple formula by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that formula is to chant the holy name of the Lord. And every other things will fall in place. So that's my understanding and realization of the text. So maybe the other devotees have some other realization or sharing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So anyone else wants to share something? Just unmute, please, and go ahead and speak. Shrimad Prabhu, are you there? Do you have something to share? Kavikanapur Prabhu, you there? You have something to share? And who else?
Thank you, Prabhu. I'm here to just hear. Thank you.
Okay. Anadi Nidanam, Gayatri Devi, Loka, Narayani, Sunita, Utpala, Raj Tarini. Anyone has something to share, please? You may do that. One thing that kind of stands out to me in the purport is, of course, what's the name? Sanika Prabhu also highlighted on that. So Srila Prabhupada was saying that this forgetfulness of the living being, beginning from Brahma down to the lowest insignificant end, is a tendency which can be counteracted by meditation on the Virat Rupa of the Lord. This chance is available in the human form of life. And if a human being follows the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam and begins to meditate upon the Virat Rupa, then a revival of his pure consciousness and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord can follow simultaneously. So, and in fact, let me share this. It's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada explains things in the purport, because the way Srila Prabhupada oftentimes speaks and writes is systematic and chronological. In other words, things follow as they should. Like you have to put your socks on before you put on your shoes. You don't put your shoes on before you put your socks on, right? So this is putting our socks on before we put our shoes on. And that is when this forgetfulness, beginning from Lord Brahma down to the lowest insignificant end, is a tendency which can be counteracted by meditation. How do we counteract that? By meditating on the Virat Rupa of the Lord. And who has the chance? Those who have the chance of doing this meditation on the Virat Rupa of the Lord is in the human form of life. And if the humans follow the instruction of SRIMAD Bhagavatam and begins to meditate upon the Virat Rupa, as we did study on from Canto 1, Canto 2, Chapter 1, then the revival of the pure consciousness and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord and follow simultaneously. See, Srila Prabhupada did not say that the tendency to forget the eternal relationship with the Lord will follow simultaneously. He said can follow simultaneously. And that creates a big difference and creates a sense of conscious practice or effort to the instructions given in the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. Because SRIMAD Bhagavatam tells us that this Virat Rupa form is the beginning step. So when one engages in this consciousness, this meditation of the Virat Rupa form as given in the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, then slowly and gradually one will advance from this Virat Rupa meditation to the personal meditation of Krishna. And one will understand that the meditation on the Virat Rupa is not the end of it all, but is the beginning step of regaining our pure consciousness. Our pure consciousness is that of serving Krishna. So it's the beginning step. And as soon as this forgetfulness is removed, the Vyavasaya Buddhi, as mentioned in the purport, which is here, Vyavasaya, ascertained intelligence. Vyavasaya Buddhi, as translated here, means ascertained intelligence. As mentioned here, and in the Bhagavad Gita 241, follows at once. What does Krishna state in 241? Let's see what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 241. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So here, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that when we meditate and when we render service to Krishna with resolute mind, in other words, when our mind is very much focused. Now we read the story of Arjuna being asked to shoot the eye of the bird that was put in a pool by looking, in the tree by looking down in the water. Many people, many archers were called in, were asked, what do you see? What do you see? And people started giving all sort of various descriptions. I see this, I see that, I see this, I see that. When John was called and was asked, what do you see? Says, I do not see anything other than the eye of the fish, I should say, yes. I do not see anything other than the eye of the fish. So we aim before we shoot. We do not shoot before we aim. So when one is very much resolute, very much focused, then his attention can be pinpointed. Those whose mind are not resolute are very much branched, and so they get distracted. So Srila Prabhupada has been answering these questions. People oftentimes ask why these Hare Krishnas do not speak about any God other than Krishna. Yes, we only speak about Krishna because we understand that by pleasing Krishna, you please everyone else. So if you have the highest currency note in your country, all other smaller currency notes or coins are automatically found in that single large note. So once we have Krishna, we have everybody in Krishna. We don't need to pray separately to the goddess of knowledge to help us have good knowledge. Krishna gives us that knowledge. We do not pray to Lakshmi to give us fortune. Krishna gives us that fortune. We do not pray to any other gods or goddesses for any particular help, because all those beings are getting their source of strength from Krishna. So instead of going to the different twigs and the leaves of the tree, we go to the root of the tree, and that is Krishna. So if someone has something to share, we may do that. Otherwise, we may bring this to a close. Seems the waters are very quiet today. Hare Krishna, Mitravinda Devi.
When you eat
Sita
mother,
Devi, do you have something to share?
I think she's busy.
All
That is
right.
what happens when you eat Mother Lucas Banku alone. So everybody decides to keep silent.
Hare Krishna. So, Salika, maybe we may bring this to a close.
Yes, I think so, but let's
Yeah.
have our normal rituals.
Yeah.
Let's loudly
Unmute.
unmute everyone. Let's everyone unmute. Let's loudly chant a powerful Hare Krishna mantra to appreciate each and every devotee speaker for today.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama Vanchakarpatarubhyas Chakriva Sudhubhyas Namaskaram Pavashnabhyo Vaishnavim Ananta Koti Vaishnavinde Ki Jai. This young gopis is already on our way to Goloka Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all.